Good morning. Welcome to Get Real America here on this 23rd day of January. A little overcast here, 50 degrees or so in the city of Savannah. I'm Bill Edwards, and Brittany is on assignment and will be might be joining us here during the show, as a matter of fact. So she's been assigned all over the place. Voting is underway in New Hampshire as Dixville Notch became the first place to vote just after midnight this morning, and I think they have all of 2 votes in Dixville Notch. It's something that's a tradition that's been going back over 60 years. So congratulations to the folks there. It looks like President Trump is going to take this one. Nikki Haley says she has no intentions of dropping out of the race whatsoever. So we'll see about that. Also coming up, we're going to hear just how bad this stuff, the invasion is, and things, how serious we are about whether we need to protect our borders or not. And if you don't have a border, folks, you don't have a country. It's just that simple. So we'll be talking about that this morning as well. But meantime, President Trump is showing not only is he polling well here, but also in Nikki Haley's state of South Carolina, right across the river from us. Governor Henry McMaster is a big Trump supporter, and it looks like South Carolina is going to go Trump's way as well, as it is in New Hampshire today.
Y'all know what the plural of y'all is? All y'all. Well, I want to tell all y'all why we all are here. I don't know if you noticed, but all the statewide elected officials in South Carolina, we call them constitutional officers, are for Trump. Except one, she's a rookie and she'll figure it out before long. Our 2 U.S. senators and the vast majority of the people of South Carolina want Donald Trump. So that's why we are here. We are here for one reason. We're here for one reason. You've heard those great philosophers, the Spice Girls. Tell us what you want, what you really, really want. Well, that's what we're here to do, to tell you what we in South Carolina want, what we really, really want. And there he is, right there. I got more. He's short. All right, I got 4 short reasons. We want Donald Trump. Why? To protect our borders, return the illegals, and build a wall. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2, get the woke out of our military and put the fight back in. Reason number 3 or 4, put common sense conservative judges in the courts to restore the rule of law and the Constitution. And finally, to tell our enemies abroad that America is standing back up and it's time for them to sit back down. New Hampshire is for Trump. South Carolina is too. We'll see you at the finish line.
Love Henry McMaster. Did a great job, and that just shows the power. Yesterday, of course, we showed you Trump's entrance into New Hampshire, where people were lining the streets, middle of the night, and the snow coming down. It was just amazing. And in the news media, once again, it's a shame we don't have one in this country, but the fact that they continue to ignore this, and they did that in 2016 when all these rallies were going on. Trump was drawing tens of thousands. People were having to wait outside. They were putting monitors, big jumbotrons up outside so that people could watch what was going on inside. And the media said nothing to see here. That's just people, that they might show up, but they're not going to vote for this guy. And meanwhile, the Hildebeest couldn't draw flies. I mean, you'd have a bigger return for a refrigerator opening than you would for most of her appearances when she had these rock stars appear with her and these rock bands coming along. As soon as they finished playing, as she was supposed to speak, they left. The crowd left. And to ignore this will be at the Democratans' peril. Good. Meanwhile, Obama was the first guy that got us into all this trouble. Who would have thought that 3 years ago that the border would be the number 1 issue in this coming campaign? But that's what is polling in New Hampshire here and just about every other state as well. It is the problem at the border, and this administration is doing nothing about it. However, that Ben Bergam once again is explaining what the problem is and what we're facing, and Obama's in charge.
Obama was the one who really he pretended he said all the right things, but he actually unleashed the operation, the ORR, Operation of Refugee Resettlement. That is what all of this, everything we're seeing, all of these illegals coming into our country, flooding into the country. They're using the ORR as the basis for doing that. Obama was the one who unleashed that, and it started under Obama. That's where we've seen places like Dearborn, Michigan, and these northern states be overrun by Islamists. We have jihadists in our country right now because we've invited them in. But basically what they saw was all these other countries said, well, we can play that same game. We can all pretend like we're refugees. The United Nations and the Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services are all out there training people. When you come here, this is what you say. This is where you go. They teach them where to go, how to cross illegally. The organizations that we are funding, the federal government is funding, who then are shipping people around our country, are teaching people how to game our immigration system. And Obama was just a better liar. I mean, that's all he was. But they've been doing this. This is an intentional destruction of our country by communist jihadists. It's this unholy alliance between communists that want to destroy our country from within and jihadists that want to destroy our country from within. And the scary thing is, I just had that video where I interviewed the Iranian about a week ago. And he said, he told me, terrorists are coming in. He knows terrorists are coming in. And then I got a message from a guy in one of these camps who said, I had a terrorist with me from Afghanistan in the camp with me. He gave a fake name. He told me that he was with an Afghan terrorist. He told Border Patrol a fake name. This is his real name. I tried to call Homeland Security, and I was told unless I had the guy's first name, last name, date of birth, and where he was currently residing, they couldn't even take the report. That is how inept the system is right now. So not only do we not know how many people are coming in, even if you have somebody that you suspect, it's almost impossible to get them to take it seriously.
And then a pox on both houses of the people of the Supreme Court, the 5-4 decision that came yesterday. And they ruled that sided with the Biden administration, allowing to remove the razor wire in Texas. Now, Governor Abbott said, this ain't over. And frankly, I think they should ignore it, because Biden was also told by the extreme court that he couldn't pardon people's the college debt, and he's doing it anyway, continuing to defy the Supreme Court order. Well, Texas ought to do the same thing. But the justices yesterday ruled 5-4 in favor of vacating an appeals court ruling that halted the Biden administration from removing the wire. And also the ruling has set back Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He's protesting, of course. He said this is not over. He said on X, in response to the Supreme Court's ruling, Texas razor wire is an effective deterrent to the illegal crossings that Biden encourages. I will continue to defend Texas' constitutional authority to secure the border and prevent the Biden administration from destroying our property. His Attorney General Ken Paxton said that he looks forward to defending the state's anti-immigrant policy, anti-migrant policy, that is, measure in court. Said the destruction of the Texas border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. Since the launch of Operation Lone Star back in March of 2021, Texas has installed miles of concertina wire, but the Biden administration has been removing some of it. And the Supreme Court yesterday, including Amy Coney Barrett, who voted for this thing and voted against Texas and voted against America. Why is it that all of usually some of the appointees that we have for conservatives always tend to stab us in the back, starting off right at the top with Justice Roberts? But all the time, anytime the left-wing loons get appointed, they toe the mark and drink the Kool-Aid and toe the party line. Why should we have a border? Well, there's one thing, is because of our safety. Take a look at this mom who said that is mourning the fact that her daughter lost her life at the hands of an illegal immigrant.
I want everyone to know what is going on at the border. I had no clue what was going on before my daughter was brutally murdered and raped, but I do now. And I found the story is just so mind-boggling on how nobody at the border did their job and checked his background, all they had to do was make one phone call to El Salvador to know that he was an MS-13 gang member on the list. And it's just crazy how he got from Texas all the way to Maryland to being in the same trailer as my daughter.
This is incorrigible. And the blood is on Joe Biden's hands and Mayorkas and all of the other cretins who are in charge of this, and the border czar, Kamala Harris, a woman who, whose IQ is approaching maybe double digits. This is pathetic. What is the prime directive of government? And that is to protect its citizens. And what are they doing? They're allowing murderers and thugs and thieves and all sorts of vermin to come in here, communists, terrorists, and they probably have cells already set up around the country, intending to do bodily harm and also destructive harm to our precious infrastructure that the Democrats seem to be so concerned about all the time. John Fetterman, who's getting better all the time, I'm beginning to like this guy, said, having a border is important, and what's the big deal about saying that it is?
I saw a poll that indicated you have very high approval among Democratic voters, and this information in Pennsylvania, and this information came along with the tag that Twitter is not real life, because obviously a lot of progressives on Twitter have been attacking you for your position on Israel, for noting that, in your opinion, saying that there is a crisis at the border does not make one xenophobic. Why do you think you've been so criticized by so many progressives?
I honestly don't understand. I don't understand why it's controversial to anybody to decide that you're going to stand with Israel in this situation. I honestly don't understand why it's controversial to say we need a secure border. I've been very clear. In fact, that was weaponized against me as Republicans in my race, that I'm very much a strong supporter of immigration. And, my wife's family, that's the Oregon story about that. And I think two things can be true at the same time. You can be very supportive of immigration, but we also need to have a secure border. And I think about immigration as we want to provide the American dream for any migrant. But it seems very difficult when you have 300,000 people showing up encountered at our border to do that. And I think we need to do a reset, and we have to work together and develop a new comprehensive solution to that. And that would also unlock a lot of the critical aid for Ukraine. Again, we cannot forget about Ukraine. That's critical for Israel and Taiwan. That's a very important kind of standard that we have to maintain, that we're going to support and stand with our allies.
And once again, the justices who actually voted for America were, of course, Savannah's own Clarence Thomas, along with Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. Good for them. And for Amy, and also the biggest disappointment has been Judge John Roberts, that we thought was going to be really terrific as chief judge when he was appointed about 12 years ago, and he's been nothing but a thorn in our sides, starting with siding with the Obama people on Obamacare. Well, do you believe the border is secure? Does the president believe the border is secure? He was confronted just recently by a Fox News reporter, and you won't believe the answer. Okay, and then and Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, who's been kind of a disappointment. I started off thinking that he was going to do a good job, but he said at least he sat across from him at a cabinet meeting just recently and told him, he said, you could stop this thing right now. And he's believed this for the last 10 years. How long have they said we've had a border problems? That it goes back, thousands of years? Well, please. But he's believed it last 10. That predates Trump. That's when he was vice president. And they didn't do anything then. So why haven't they done something except places that keep this thing wide open? So he doesn't believe that the border is secure, and yet that's what we've been hearing from Mayorkas and the rest of his Confederates. Why is it important to have a border? Why is it important to stop this invasion? Tucker Carlson spells it all out.
The story of history is the story of invasions. One group of people moving into someone else's land and taking it. One nation ends, another begins. Invasions drive history. Few Americans understand this is happening to them right now. The United States of America is being invaded.
For the love of God, this is a damn invasion. Who is allowing this?
They invaded our privacy.
I think it's an invasion of the country.
In other words, it's ending. The country you grew up in no longer exists. Soon it will be unrecognizable. No one is fighting back. Few are even acknowledging it. And the people who lead us are letting it happen. Why are our leaders letting this happen? Well, to destroy the country and to change the demographics. Who lives here determines what the country's like. This country is changing faster than you may understand. Americans are being replaced. That's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. In August of 2023, illegal immigration outpaced American births, a brand new population. Last year alone, over 3 million people came here illegally just over our southern border. The media won't tell you it's happening, but if you look around, you can see it, and you can see it most clearly in our cities, which are collapsing. We elect people to protect us. That's what politicians are paid to do. But they've done the opposite. They've sold us out, and they've crushed what our ancestors built. Take a look at our cities. They're hellish, and immigration is the reason. The city of Chicago was in tough shape even before Joe Biden opened the borders. Now, parts of it are basically uninhabitable. Even the socialist mayor of Chicago says the city is breaking under the strain.
Without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake.
Chicago's politicians may complain about illegal immigration in public, but in private, they're paying for it with your money. They're spending more on illegal aliens than on their own citizens. They're doing this secretly. They're hiding it from the public. Our team uncovered a shadow terminal, for example, inside Chicago O'Hare Airport. Hundreds of migrants were being hidden there secretly. Our team pulled up with cameras rolling, and at first we didn't see much. The city erected a black tarp to hide what was going on. The motive was simple. They didn't want us to see it. And a third-party security group paid for with your tax dollars told us that was prohibited. We weren't allowed to see.
What are you doing?
I want to look inside.
For what? For what?
They weren't local or federal law enforcement, so we ignored them. They had no authority. They were rent-a-cops. Inside, our team found more than 100 beds on the floor. The smell was overpowering, repulsive. It was filthy. But it's not just airport terminals that have been given over to people who've come here illegally from the poorest countries in the world, without permission, criminally, and yet being supported in every detail of their lives by taxpayers. No, even police stations in Chicago have been turned into refugee camps. This is new video never seen before of what's actually happening inside Chicago's police stations. Keep in mind, the people who work in those police stations are paid to protect you, but that's not what they're doing. They're running refugee camps for illegal aliens. As our cameramen approached the Chicago police precinct in the city's downtown to see what was happening inside, you see people come out, illegal aliens, shooting them the middle finger and yelling. They didn't hide their hostility. Many other illegals have been pushed into poorer, predominantly black neighborhoods on the south side. We went there. We spoke to someone who has lived on the south side of Chicago virtually his entire life. He's enraged by how the city has fallen apart under its sanctuary city policy.
Andre Smith, CEO of Chicago Against Violence. I don't know the count, but I know that the readiness, the language of sanctuary city, state, and county should have had a plan, but it led to a massive destruction. I have seen almost the worst of the worst in Chicago, but seeing this migrant crisis was the most devastating thing that I ever seen.
You live in America, the place you grew up, the place you'd like to see your children grow up, in much the way that you did. But that won't be possible because of the single greatest sellout in our history. Hundreds of years of America eliminated by an invasion that our leaders made possible. You should know that.
And if you vote for any of these people again, a pox on both of your houses. Coming up next, there was a big fire on Chatham Parkway yesterday. We'll talk about that. And also, Newt Gingrich says that this coming election, you have a lot to be optimistic about. That's next. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Welcome back. I'm Bill Edwards. Brittany's on assignment. And coming up, wow, a big fire yesterday I was actually driving in that direction, going out to Granger Nissan, and I saw this big billowing black smoke coming up just off the highway, and was wondering what that was. Well, it was a Savannah firefighter, or a firefighter that was injured. Some people lost power in an industrial fire yesterday. Mike Sela from WTOC, which is the big red digital high definition 11, tells us more.
We do continue to follow this breaking news in Chatham County to tell you about. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Seelan. We begin with that breaking news out of Garden City. A fire is now out at a business along Chatham Parkway after multiple agencies worked to put it out. Our Anna Stansfield joins us now live from the scene with the latest. Anna, what can you tell us?
Well, Mike, we're here just outside of Southeast Connections where the building caught fire about 3.5 hours ago. Now, we were here right after that fire took place, and we're going to take you into some video here so you can see exactly what it looked like right after we arrived. As you can see, massive clouds of smoke filling the sky. We were able to speak with the fire marshal with Garden City Fire, who says the cause of this incident is still under investigation. He says his crews, along with the help of Port Wentworth and Savannah Fire, were able to put this fire out about an hour after they responded to the call. Southeast Connections is a natural gas provider, but investigators say they don't believe that has anything to do with the cause here today because there was no gas near the building at the time of the fire. We do know that one firefighter was injured here today and taken to the hospital, but we still have no word on his condition. At the time, this fire did block traffic on both sides of Chatham Parkway in this area for about 2 hours, but just about an hour to 2 hours ago, that road has been reopened and traffic does seem to be moving fairly smoothly. It also caused some power outages to some neighboring businesses. We were able to speak with one of those neighboring businesses, and he tells us now what his reaction was like when he saw the fire break out.
We were all just sitting there doing our work, and our operations manager said, "Hey, there's black smoke outside." So went out there and saw flames and smoke and went, "Oh my gosh, our neighbor's on fire."
Now, we have been keeping in touch with Austin about that power situation. Power does seem to be restored for him now. Of course, as this investigation continues into what might have caused today's fire, we will, of course, be keeping you updated. So stick with WTOC both on air and online for all of those updates. For now, live in Chatham County, Anna Stansfield, WTOC News.
So we don't know what the conditions were or exactly what happened, but that we heard several explosions while this fire was going on, whether it was propane tanks or whatever it is that they had in that building. But extensive damage was done. Then we wish the best for the firefighter that was injured. Port Wentworth also responded with their firefighters as well. So we'll keep you posted on that story. Meanwhile, going back, we said one of the biggest problems and the number one issue among voters, of course, is the illegal aliens and the border crisis that we're having. And it's probably going, if Joe Biden and his Confederates don't realize it, this is going to cost them the election. And Newt Gingrich said was extremely optimistic about this when he talked with Sean Hannity on the Fox News channel about it last night.
All right, here with analysis of all this and Joe Biden's latest election woes, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, your reaction to all the news tonight, Joe Biden pressuring Israel to put a pause on the war. You hear about these 10 family members, tens of millions of dollars from some of our top geopolitical foes. Joe Biden now losing, according to the New York Times, in 5 out of 6 swing states, but in denial about it. Your reaction to all of it?
Well, I mean, first of all, Chairman James Comer is doing a great job, and people need to realize he's doing that job under enormous pressure from the administration and from the left. So I really commend what he's doing. Second, I have to tell you, as I listened to him describe the $30 million, I was reminded of the scene in The Pink Panther, where Peter Sellers, as a detective, is on the stand, and the prosecutor says, on your salary, how could your wife buy all of these things? And he says, well, she was really good with the kitchen budget. What you have here is so clearly, visibly, a bunch of people who are crooks. I mean, this isn't a complicated case. Joe Biden and his family are collectively the Sopranos of New Jersey, of Delaware. They're clearly crooks, and you have to start with that. The minute you say to yourself, could this be an episode of The Sopranos, it all falls into place. So that's the part of it. The other part here, which I think is frightening, is Andy McCarthy, who's a very serious former federal prosecutor, wrote recently, we're going to have to come to grips with the fact that we have a Chinese communist agent in the White House, the president. Now, I don't know, agent's too strong a word. You clearly have in Joe Biden a person who, by any reasonable standard, was corrupted by a series of our enemies. Russian money, Kazakhstan, the original corruption in Ukraine, Romania, and of course the Chinese communist. And I think that, and I've talked to Chairman Comer before and to Chairman Jordan and others, Chairman Smith, I mean, they are gradually going to paint a picture so vivid that every American's going to understand, whether you're for the left, you're for the right, if you're an American patriot, you're going to understand you have a president who is fatally corrupted and who was corrupted by our deepest
Speaker,
enemies in the world.
He swore as president. He swore as a candidate. That never once did he ever speak to his son, his brother, or anybody for that matter about these foreign business deals. But yet, Hunter's partner, Devin Archer, identified over 20 meetings he was calling into. We know 5 days before he leveraged $1 billion to get the prosecutor in Ukraine fired to allow his son with no experience, addicted to drugs at the time, to continue to get paid. We know he was on the call with Burisma executives. We know he met that Russian oligarch that James Comer talked about at Cafe Milano. The level of just pure lying and the sheer amount of money from just oil in China and Ukraine is breathtaking from a kid that admits he had no experience at all whatsoever. I'd love that gig, kind of, if you give it to me. So would everyone in the audience.
Well, first of all, you may remember, Sean, a few years ago, we had a terrorist picked up who had parked a bomb in Times Square, which luckily did not go off. He was brought in front of a federal judge. The federal judge said to him, 2 years ago, you became a U.S. citizen. You swore loyalty to the United States. How do you explain this? And the terrorist looked him in the eye and said, you know, Judge, I lied. I'm a terrorist. I lie. What you have is, go back to The Sopranos. You wake up in the morning as a crook. You have two futures. You can tell the truth and go to jail, or you can keep lying. Every morning for apparently years, Joe Biden has woken up and said, you know, I think I'll just keep lying. And so far it's worked.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. So far it's worked, but he thinks that this could be a big landslide election coming up because of this. And the Democrats can live in denial all they want to. But he said he thinks it's going to be maybe even a bigger landslide than Reagan Carter. Let's hope so. Coming up, also, we have Adam Schiff. Speaking of the liars, you know that Adam Schiff is lying when his lips are moving. This idiot also wants to be the next senator from the state of California, going for Dianne Feinstein's seat, that is. And he was called out by Steve Garvey the other day, actually in the chamber.
Americans, including Californians who are visiting other states.
Thank you, Congressman.
And that
we have to
decision would be dangerous.
Mr. Garvey, your
yes,
rebuttal.
I think you've been censured for lying.
I was censured for standing up to a corrupt
this
president.
Is exactly what I'm talking
corrupt
about.
President
Mr. Garvey's turn. Let him go.
Or trying to determine who we are by race or by color or by gender. They never listen. They have prearranged words to say. And by the way, I would not vote for a federal ban on abortion. Let's make that clear right now.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey.
All right,
I'm going to insist on answering.
All
I
right.
was just called a liar by Mr. Garvey.
Okay, 30
Mr.
seconds.
Garvey, I was censured for standing up to a corrupt president. And you know something? I would do it all over again. Because that corrupt president, that president who's been indicted with 91 felony counts, that president that you won't refuse to support, yeah, he's a danger. And I will stand up to him and Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan and any of those MAGA enablers of his in the Congress. The reason why our democracy is in trouble is because folks don't have the courage to stand up when they need to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sir,
we're going to keep moving.
Let me just vote my name.
All right. Real quick.
Sir, you lied to 300 million people. You can't take that back.
Okay, we're going to keep moving. This is the
Yeah, well, he lies all the time. And all those indictments, that one of the reasons that Donald Trump is getting so popular, even among the people who didn't vote for him in the first place and may not have liked him to begin with, is they know that this is a kangaroo court, that these indictments are nonsense. And we got the Fonnie Willis story going on up in Atlanta. Governor Kemp ought to be removing her immediately, if not sooner, for the abuse of power that she's using. They have taken one charge and broken it down into about 23 in this RICO case that they supposedly have against Trump, while she has given $65 million to her lover. And they've been going around the world instead of using the money elsewhere. They've been going on cruises and going on very expensive vacations, staying in five-star hotels, just like they were illegal aliens. It's just pathetic. Fonnie Willis these charges ought to be dropped in Atlanta. Even the New York Times and the Washington Compost have now turned against Willis and saying this could be a problem. When you lose the New York Times and the Washington Compost, you're in real trouble. This is just pathetic. Meanwhile, Trump said one of the things that he is going to do is to protect us, even against things like digital currency that they're trying to push down our throats too.
And tonight I'm also making another promise to protect Americans from government tyranny. As your president, I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. Do you know about that?
Thank God. Digital currency is going to be the worst thing that could ever happen. It's bad enough that they can track you now with your credit cards. But once they get to a digital currency and they can control all the money, then they can control what you buy, where you go, what you can have. It is extremely dangerous. Do everything you can to keep cash on top. Well, one of the things also is that, you keep thinking, when are we going to get rid of George Soros? When is he going to go off to be with the Lord? Except I'm not sure the Lord is the direction he's going. But his heir is his son Alex, and he goes off on one of these rants just recently, delivering this breathless temper tantrum against Donald Trump.
I don't think that that's the fundamental. I don't think technology is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. I mean, democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths, actually. Now, fundamentally, how society lives together civically in those contestations is obviously quite tricky. But I think that if we play too much on this disinformation card, we're taking the responsibility away from ourselves to actually create a narrative that inspires people to vote and to believe, in democracy and democratic institutions. And on the institutional part, I think that we can talk about institutions as these abstract things, but institutions are also about people. And we just heard this point about untrustworthy people, and we talked about things in the United States like checks and balances, which aren't written anywhere but are customs. And one man, Donald Trump, literally came in and just took that all away. But when I see this, when I look at this, more globally regarding democracy, I also say to myself, when was this great time that everybody got along so well and things were going so great? I mean, I think I think that we really have to be careful here in this nostalgia for a time past, because a lot of the reactions we're seeing in society are actually reactions to positive things like equality for women, and greater diversity, which come with backlash.
Who's writing his speeches? Kamala Harris? Good Lord! Yeah, well, the democracy. When did we have this time? We were getting along pretty darn well before the Dalai Lama. Racial tensions were easing, but there is a race industry that's making way too much. But there will never be a cure for racism because we have a race industry that's making way too much money. I give you the Reverend Al Sharpton, who's paid millions of dollars by NBC, by the way, to be extremely stupid and as a radical. And by the way, we don't live in a democracy, sir. That's why we don't want a democracy. We have a representative republic. As Benjamin Franklin said about a democracy, he defined a democracy as two wolves and a sheep arguing over what's for dinner. All right. Coming up next, even first responders sometimes have a difficulty getting to places because of the bad weather. I presume it's climate change. We'll be talking about that and more coming up, and also a salute to two great American heroes we lost last week. That's next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, The mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
Scary that it can be put into anything, and we can't even see it or notice it.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards. Brittany's on assignment. And one of the things that we always tell you when we're evacuating for hurricanes or other thing, when we have mandatory evacuations, that if you stay and you get in trouble and you call the first responders, chances are they're not going to be able to get to you. We're not going to put our first responders at risk over the mistake that you made when we told you, get out of here for your own safety. You're just going to be out of luck. We're not going to put these people back on the road in dangerous conditions. It's been that way around the country for some of the things like, have you ever seen black ice? Well, you don't. It's called black ice because you can't see it. You see just the asphalt beneath. The ice is nice and clear. Well, look at what happened to some first responders out of Missouri yesterday.
Scott. Well, the roads were treacherous this morning for everyone, including first responders.
Yeah, this is video of a Rock Community fire truck sliding down a hill near Imperial, and it's made national news. New tonight, our Laura Barczewski talked with the chief and neighbors about this viral video turned safety lesson. Laura?
Mike and Kelly, it was scary for everyone involved, and while some of the outcome was luck, the fire chief says the driver did everything he possibly could to make sure everyone walked away from this crash. Neighbors saw the fire truck weighing more than 56,000 pounds barrel down the ice-covered hill near Imperial, meeting the same fate as the driver they were called out to help.
Right at like 7 o'clock. So we woke up to a loud crash. The blue Chevy Cruze crashed into my car and then was lodged on top of the fire hydrant and electrical box. So we advised her to get out of her vehicle, come over, to safety on the porch.
Caitlin Boise says they then called 911, and while they were waiting, a pickup truck slid down the hill on Parkside Place, followed by the Rock Community fire truck, which slammed into the blue car before sliding into the grass, narrowly missing the tan house.
We were immediately running over to check on them. If it wasn't for the blue car already being lodged in front of the tree and on the fire hydrant, I do think that the fire truck would have flipped once it hit the tree. So in all honesty, it was it turned out okay.
Wow. Fortunately, because there was also a situation in Alabama where a fire truck had slipped off the road, wanted overturned. There have been numerous incidents of that, but that's what happened. These first responders put their lives on the line every day. It was always amazing to me that while we were, because I stayed behind along with some of my colleagues when I was doing my former life, when I was doing a morning radio show. And we stayed behind to keep the people and the public informed. But it was to my undying admiration to the linemen and all the electrical people and the first responders that were going out in this horrendous weather and fixing our lines and everything else. And I had to do kudos to our engineers who were going out and trying to find diesel fuel in order to keep our generator running so we could stay on the air. Fortunately, the integrity of the building itself stayed together, and we were able to stay on and keep the public informed as to what was going on. But we were staying behind on a voluntary basis and on a special occasion to help you. And those first responders out there in the middle of all this mess while we were sitting there in a warm, comfortable studio is something that is just totally inspiring. Thank you for all of you, for our first responders, we call them first responders, but we're talking about the police. We're talking about the linemen. We're talking about the EMTs. Anybody that's going out there and putting their lives on the line and going into dangerous situations to try to help somebody, even somebody who has been foolish enough to stay behind. And we said, hey, get out of here. It's the best thing for you. So once again, a low bow from me to you. And who are these people? Who are these strange people these days that are trying to stand up for America, to be Americans, and to live the golden rule, to be part of this great experiment of America that they're trying to destroy? The Prager University is puts on these great interviews and do these great stories. And if you can donate to Prager, by all means, please consider it. Because here's one lady that says she's just really weird these days by the new standards.
Remember normal? When did being normal get canceled? Normal, by the way, is my gender identity. Misgender me at your peril. What makes me normal? Well, I'm in a monogamous marriage, and I intend to stick with it until death do us part. I'm a proud husbosexual. That means I'm only attracted to men who identify as my husband. We have 5 children. Each of them remains the sex they were born. The only flag we fly has 50 stars and 13 stripes. We are trying our best to instill Judeo-Christian American values in our kids. You know, stuff like every human being is created in the image of God, personal responsibility, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We hope they marry young and produce a lot of grandchildren for us to dandle on our knees one day. Trigger warning, I also stayed home to raise my babies. Compared to most women my age, all this makes me a radical, an extremist, or as I call myself, a domestic extremist. The funny thing is, I am not classically domestic. I bake with Duncan Hines, and I loathe doing laundry. I have never crocheted anything, darned a sock, or touched a loom. I have never practiced animal husbandry. It's too late for me to learn how to milk goats. You're welcome, goats. In fact, I spent my entire life in big cities, where tending the plants is something the gardener does. For better or worse, I was raised as a fairly spoiled, totally secular, suburban American princess. In short, I was once just like most of you, unhappy, trying to convince myself I wasn't. Then, fate intervened, and I met a great guy, just in time. And I realized something my grandmother took for granted. A woman's most meaningful calling in life is to be a wife and mother. This is coming to you from someone who had a 6-figure job at a major entertainment company and gave it up so I could stay home with my baby. Becoming extremely domestic saved me. And domestic extremism can also save you and your family, and the country, and indeed our entire civilization from our collective nosedive. Wait a second, am I saying women shouldn't pursue careers? No. When it comes to a career, I'm pro-choice. I'm simply saying that being a wife and mother is job one, because America is in free fall and everyone knows it. Just look around. The consequences are all around us. Young people are unable to form meaningful relationships, raise children, and otherwise perpetuate the species. Loneliness, depression, drug abuse, and generalized despair have taken hold. The hour grows late. We are facing an extinction-level event, as in, there soon won't be enough of us. How did we get here? There are many reasons, of course, but I'm going to point my finger at one. It's not open borders, cancel culture, or unbridled wokeness, though they certainly haven't helped. Instead, it is feminism and all its empty promises that has nearly erased the point and purpose of being female. And when you do that, things tend to go sideways. The endless cries for more girl power and female empowerment have led directly to the creation of today's dystopia. Even worse, these fanatics had a 50-year head start. We must therefore take the culture fight to them if we hope to reclaim our country, our children, and our true power as American women. We need to woman up. We need to lean in to the very essence of our being, to commit to a lifestyle that is not always the easiest choice, a lifestyle that may bring you little social media glory and will make you a pariah in certain zip codes. We need more women to choose domestic extremism, to become more domestic, in other words. Becoming a domestic extremist is so simple that you can start today. All you have to do is to choose to live again in a way that within recent memory was considered normal. Never forget this truth. We didn't become the extremists, they did. And if you choose to remain child-free because, kids pollute the planet and keep you from going to the Taylor Swift concert, that's okay with me. To paraphrase Napoleon, never interrupt a cat owner when she is making a mistake. Leave the homemaking to us. While they're demanding gender equity, TikToking about how great it is to be 29 without any commitments, and complaining that marriage is indentured servitude, we'll be making babies, raising responsible adults, and dreaming of all the people who will call us grandma one day. Be fruitful, husbands and wives, and multiply. That's how we win. I'm Peachy Keenan, author of Domestic Extremist for Prager University. If this video helped to clarify your thinking, please consider making a $5 donation at prageru.com.
PragerU does some wonderful stuff, and I suggest that you start looking it up and taking a look at their videos. The videos that they have done on our past presidents has been absolutely marvelous. And that was what we were battling back in the early 70s, and I can remember when the feminism movement really got started. I remember when Phyllis George was nominated and became Miss America. She came to the Ole Miss campus, and she was confronted by some reporters at saying how well she was exploited and things of that nature. She said, "Wait a minute. I'm getting thousands of dollars in scholarship money. I am traveling around America at no expense. Of the Miss America campaign is paying for it. I'm meeting wonderful people. I am going to school and making good grades, and I'm working on a career." Later, she went into broadcasting. You might have seen her on doing some of the, in fact, doing a lot of the sports programs and doing the pregame shows for professional football and sometimes college football. She was a wonderful lady. It was an honor to meet her when she came to Ole Miss, and it's just amazing. She said, "So I'm being exploited because of this?" She really put those reporters in their place, and it's just unbelievable what has happened since then. When you hear these people saying, "Well, the planet's not going to be around much longer, so I'm not going to have kids," this is propaganda that the media has continued to exacerbate and make things even worse as time goes along. And once again, you plant this stuff, and that's why they're going after our kids, because the Hitler Youth was something that provided lots of fodder for Hitler and his group to defy their parents and to turn their parents in to get rid of them. And it's brainwashing, pure and simple, no doubt about it. And to tell these women, not to have babies it's just disgusting. We had the lady on that was on with us yesterday saying that you want to make more babies. She started this diaper company that's very pro-life and is making sure that people want to have kids. And this is why, because we keep hearing all the time, well, we need all these illegal aliens to come in here because they do the job that Americans won't do. We even heard that from President Bush. Disgusting. Nancy Mace was talking about one of the things that she was talking about was when she was considering, remember how things were under Donald Trump?
I've been listening to voters for months and weeks now, and he's getting stronger and stronger. People want the primary to be over, and they want us to move forward because there's a lot at stake for our children and for our nation, even for our allies around the world. Our country and our world is less safe because we have a weak president in the White House, and we had a stronger economy under Trump. Everything was better under Trump by every measurement, every barometer, and that is what I hear day in and day out from the voters in South Carolina.
Really interesting.
Yeah, just what we'd heard from Alex Soros just a while ago when he was saying about how terrible things were under Trump. What planet is he living on? Once again, the Saul Alinsky rules for radicals blame the other side for what you're doing. And I keep hearing these things that Trump's going to do this. If he gets back in office, he's going to do this, that, and the other. Well, he didn't do it the first time he was in office. What gives you the idea that he's going to do it? That he's going to do it this coming time? These people are terrified, and they're terrified for a good reason, because he wants to continue to expose the deep state. Do you realize that the FBI still has a task force? It's on their website. You don't have to believe me. You can go look for it. Don't believe anything we say here. Look it up for yourselves. Do your own research. They still have a January 6th task force. And when the FBI whistleblower was here, from right here in Savannah, Stephen Friend, when he was addressing Ladies on the Right meeting just a few months back, who was there to cover it? We were. The newspaper wasn't there. Of course, we don't have a local newspaper here anymore. The thing is printed in Gainesville, Florida, and is brought in here. It's put together in Texas by people from USA Today. We may have one stringer here today. But they're not talking about mailing it. We used to say their new slogan was "Tomorrow's news yesterday." Or yesterday's news tomorrow, rather, is their new slogan. Well, what's it going to be now? They're going to start mailing it. So when are we going to get the Sunday paper? Wednesday? What kind of nonsense is this? None of the TV stations thought it was important enough to go hear an FBI whistleblower who was telling about all of the despicable things that the FBI is doing to destroy our lives and to turn you into terrorists, to turn you into the criminals when they're infiltrating Catholic churches, especially the ones that still do the Latin Mass. Oh, I'm glad we've got some FBI agents now who can speak Latin. That's nice. They are doing it. They're finding out the people that are shopping at Walmart, Big Lots, Bass Pro, gun stores. This is dangerous. They're not investigating any of the 500 and plus almost 600 riots that took place in the summer of 2020. In which policemen were killed, people were injured. The only person prosecuted in that whole time was Kyle Rittenhouse, who was exercising his Second Amendment rights to protect his life when he shot and killed two of the guys. I think he shot the third one, and that guy recovered, unfortunately. But there are people who continue to want to save this country. There are people who want to continue to put their lives on the line, and we honor two of them who did lose their lives just recently. These are the two Navy SEALs who have been lost to America. They were trying to board a ship last week carrying munitions from Iran. One of them, they were climbing up on, a wave came along, knocked one of them overboard, the one on the right-hand side, and the other SEAL went after him, and both have been lost at sea. The Navy and the Coast Guard have called off the search for these two wonderful young men who not only put their lives on the line for our freedoms and for our country, dying for God and country, they lost their lives for the freedoms that we enjoy and for the people who are ungrateful and are continuing to participate in things like these demonstrations against Israel and telling us how terrible America is. College professors who are continuing to tell us how terrible America is. Well, why are so damn many people trying to come here if this is such a terrible place? Just asking. And if you don't like it here, there's no out-migration quota. You can leave anytime you want. As Ken Hamlin, great radio host, the Black Avenger, always used to say, pick a better country. I dare you. That's going to do it for us today. I'll be back to try to solve America's problems again tomorrow for the Hump Day edition. Please try to help us out. Otherwise, we ain't going to be here much longer. And I mean that sincerely. So if you can make any kind of a contribution to us, please do so. It's easy to do, and all you have to do is go to thelocalspin.com, and you can find the information there. We'll see you tomorrow.